Hi there, it's Nicole for Hero Arts, and today I've got some cutout greetings Fala Llama cards featuring new stamps and dies from the Season of Wonder catalog release. We're going to be using some awesome new cutout fancy dies with the Fala Llama color layering stamp set and dies to create this trio of cards today. And then I even created a coordinating gift tag. We're going to take the Christmas cutout fancy die first, and I'm using some Hero Arts layering papers, and this particular die is going to fit a 4¼ inch wide card. So a standard A2 size card in the portrait orientation, and it will cut all the way across. And so I'm just going to die cut this really quick. This is going to be the border across the bottom of my card, as well as the main sentiment of the design. So I've taped this in place with a little post-it tape, and I'm going to peel this up really careful. I think some tweezers might have helped here a little bit. And then I simply want to pop out really carefully any of these little areas. And what you're left with is a great little sentiment along the border, and then a scripty sentiment that you can pop out, and I'm going to do an inlay with that here in a little bit. Now I have another shade of aqua paper here, kind of more of a mint paper I would say, that I am stamping the snowflakes from the Fala Llama stamp set using Mint Julep Hero Arts ink, so a tone-on-tone effect. Instead of having a solid cardstock, I wanted to have some sort of pattern back behind the upper portion of the card. The bottom part of the card is going to have the sentiment with just straight cardstock. And even though it's still interesting with the stamped sentiment, the inlay sentiment, and on a couple of cards we'll even have a stamped and embossed phrase underneath that, I still felt like I needed something else going on the card to add interest and movement and really make it fun to look at. So we're creating our own pattern paper background. This is tone on tone. As this mint julep ink dries, it's going to fade a little bit. My third one of these card samples, the third one I created, is actually the darker cardstock in the background and the lighter for the sentiment, and for that I used the Tide Pool ink to stamp those snowflakes. Let's start with our color layering llamas now, and I found it was easiest to do all of my llamas at once. So we're going to do all 4 llamas all at one time, starting with the base layer first, and we're going to go ahead and stamp this. I stamped them twice, one on top of another, and we're going to do this 4 times to create 4 llamas. And I like to do it because that way I do not have to line the dies up over and over when creating multiple cards. This makes it so super easy. Another thing to note, this looks so dark when the ink is still really wet. As that ink is absorbed into the paper and as it dries, these are all dye inks, it's going to lighten, smooth out, and be a beautiful, beautiful layered llama. The next layer for the llama is going to be stamped with Cup o' Joe ink. And again, we're going to just spin this around and stamp all 4 llamas exactly the same. Grab my other sheet of paper. And you can see as each layer gets added to the design, these really come to life. I think these are so cute and fun and so realistic. I think just really, really neat idea. Now we've got the outline. So we want to make sure we get this lined up really well. I'm going to stamp the scarf color and any additional layering for the face and the mouth after this. But I want to do the outline first because by this point I find it's much easier to kind of fill in for any of the remaining little areas. I'm going to use Hero Arts black ink to stamp my outline. And look at that face come to life. Again, we're going to just stamp this all 4 times. I'm using the ink cubes, which are really easy, but you could use the full-size inks just as well, whatever you have here. The next layer we're going to add to the llamas is the detail around the mouth and the insides of the ears, as well as the scarf. So for the scarf, we're going to use some strawberry ink, and I want to line that up and stamp that right there, and it's going to give the illusion of a red and white scarf. And look how awesome that is. It really pops. This is going to give that fun touch of red to my kind of non-traditional aqua and turquoise holiday cards. But I love aqua and red for holiday, and so I think it really just kind of ties it all together, gives it that awesome pop of color, that pop of red that I want. Now the insides of the ears, I used cotton candy ink, and around the mouth I chose to go with the Cup of Joe ink again, just to darken it up around the mouth instead of doing a different color or doing that in pink. I didn't really want to do pink around that. I didn't think it would work. And then inside of the mouth for the tongue, I used strawberry. Now for the eyes, I think that they really come to life if you take a white opaque pen and add in that detail to the highlights and the whites of the eyes. So let's go ahead and stamp the remaining detail insides of the ears, around the mouth, the tongue for each of these images, as well as finishing off the scarves. And then we're going to take the coordinating Fala Llama die and die cut all 4 of these llamas. Now back to our Merry Christmas fancy cutout. I'm going to use a powder tool right underneath the Christmas stamped greeting and stamp a phrase from the Fala Llama stamp set using Versamark ink. We'll sprinkle on a little Hero Arts white fine detail embossing powder. And I want to make sure that any little stray embossing powder flakes have been wiped away, and then we'll heat set this with the heat tool, making sure that the heat tool is really nice and hot before you take it to your paper will help minimize the warping. Let's go ahead and move that aside and we can start putting it all together. So let's pop out this scripty word. This would be great if you're going to do 2 cards. You could just kind of alternate them with the same sentiment. And you could use this one in the lighter if you wanted to. I did die cut this from white cardstock again, and I'm not going to worry about popping the Christmas out of it. Instead, I'm going to use some double-sided adhesive tape and kind of coat the back of this teal piece. This is going to be great to adhere this to the white shadow and also serve as adhesive to inlay the word Christmas back into this. So I want to offset it just a tiny bit because it's going to help make the word Merry really stand out. And I'm also going to die cut Christmas from the lighter mint paper and inlay that right there where I have the adhesive. And you want to work kind of slow. These are really delicate scripty greetings. And just kind of gently lay it across here. Make sure you remember the little dot for the letter I. And then we can remove the backing paper and pop this over that white shadow. And I'm lining it up directly with that straight line, but just offsetting it a little bit and trimming off the excess, and it gives it an awesome little white shadow. To help it stand out even more from the background, I'm going to put foam adhesive strips on the back of this and pop it up along the bottom edge. And a little tip, if you use your Misty, you can line those up really easily. Now let's put a little foam adhesive on the back of the Llama. Because it's going to slightly overlap this strip that's been adhered with foam adhesive, this needs to be adhered with foam adhesive as well. Plus it will make it stand out a little bit more. And we're just going to line that cute little llama up with the border. And then I decided to add even more interest to the top of the card with some sequins. So we're going to use two of the sequin mixes, the Icicle Sequins and the Snow and Berry Sequin mix, and kind of mix and match these, layering some snowflake sequins over the snowflakes, adding little stars to the center of others. This really has some nice shimmer and shine, plus it adds a ton of interest. The colors of sequins I'm using really pick up the color that you layer them on. So almost an iridescent look to some of these. I'm using a jewel picker to pick up any of these small pieces and put them right where I want them to go on the background. And we're going to fill in all of these snowflakes. And I did this on all three cards. Plus, I also decorated the tag that I made using that Snowflakes and Ornament fancy die. I decorated those snowflakes just like I did the stamped snowflakes using a combination of these two new sequin mixes. They're so pretty and perfect for holiday cards. And the jewel picker helps keeps your fingers out of that adhesive. So handy. Just a few more here and there. I tried to work in small areas and work my way up and across so that I didn't miss anywhere. Hopefully. Anything that's hanging off the edges of this background panel, once it's all in place, once the liquid adhesive has completely dried, I'm going to take some scissors and trim off anything hanging off of the side. And look at that sparkly snowflake background. So, so pretty. Let's go ahead and adhere the panel then to a white top fold card base. And the last thing I did was take a white opaque pen, add some detail around the face, around the mouth on the face, make sure that I added all those white highlights back into the eyes and things. And I did that for all three cards. Now for the fancy or the Snowflakes and Ornament fancy die, I simply die cut the layers from these exact same two shades of cardstock from the pool layering papers. From the lighter mint color, I used the insert and the background outline piece to create the frame. And then I used just the solid part of the die from the turquoise paper. We're going to layer the intricate snowflake design over the teal one. There's what the die looks like. And then we're going to tuck our llama kind of sticking up from the bottom of this. And then we'll decorate these snowflakes with these same two sequin mixes like I was just talking about to give a little sparkle and shine. I love creating coordinating gift tags. I love having a whole collection of gift tags on hand to tie to packages. This is really cute and fun. I could see doing a whole bunch of these, especially if you have some kind of non-traditional holiday paper. I think these would be really, really cute. So here's what this looks like. I'm going to thread a little silver twine through after I get all of the embellishing done. Again, layering snowflakes over some of the larger die-cut snowflake images there around the perimeter of the tag, and then adding little stars to the centers and stars to the other ones. So I want to show you exactly which products I used. This is the Color Layering Fala Llama stamp set and coordinating dies. I used this for all 3 cards and the tag. These are all of the pieces to layer that llama. So intricate, very easy to line up, and I think it's just really fun. And of course the eyes, I went back in with that white opaque pen. The Happy Holidays. This is that Holidays Cutout Fancy die, which creates the amazing sentiment along the bottom edge of the card. This is a 4 1/4 inch wide greeting, so it's going to go all the way across a standard size A2 card base. Tis the Season is about 3 3/4 inches wide. So I trimmed this one down and just centered that panel in the center of my white card base, so it's got a white border down each side. It's the only one of the 3 that's a little bit more narrow. And then of course Merry Christmas is also 4 1/4 inches wide. So it will go all the way across a portrait style A2 size card base. And that is my 3 cards and the products I used for all 3 of these. And then for the tag, I of course used the Fala Llama stamp and die and that Snowflakes and Ornament fancy die to create this gift tag. This would also make a really cute ornament. Thank you guys so much for joining me today for these cards and gift tag featuring new stamps and dies from Hero Arts. The supplies I used to create these projects are listed and linked below the video here on YouTube. Here are a couple more cards featuring Hero Arts that you might be interested in. Thank you so much for joining me today, and we'll see you next time.